Brian Shultz has been a renewable energy program director at Grand Rapids Community College since January 2010. Prior to that, he was construction trades manager. He has a master's degree from Western Michigan University in vocational education, and he taught welding and robotics at high school in the High School Career Technical Center for 20 years. He completed his Plumbers and Pipe Fitters Local 190 apprenticeship program and worked as a journeyman plumber and pipe fitter for 4 years. Who knew, right? Brian demonstrated a leadership role in the development of a partnership with Habitat for Humanity of Kent County that resulted in the first Habitat for Humanity LEED certified affordable home in 2006. He currently serves on the Sustainable Design Committee, where I'm honored to serve with him, of the West Michigan Sustainable Business Forum, and he has served on the Educational Committee as well. He served on the Lead for Homes Committee and the Board of Directors of the West Michigan chapter of the U.S. Green Building Council since 2008. In 2009, Brian developed a seminar in sustainability program at the Cape Eleuthera Institute in the Bahamas for Grand Rapids Community College students interested in a living laboratory experience for the study of food, energy, water, materials, waste, and transportation as they relate to the triple bottom line of sustainability. The next chapter in Brian's life is going to figure that part more prominently. I'm sure he'd be happy to talk to you about it. So Brian, please come share your essay with us.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll all like to talk about the Bahamas after this presentation. A pathway to sustainability. Why do some people embrace the concept of sustainability in both their personal and professional lives, while others deny its validity and pass it off as a temporary fad? I have struggled with the answer to this question since I first became aware of sustainability in the 1960s. The term sustainability was not used then. Still, the cultural revolution taking place was focused on the same environmental, social, and economic issues that define the triple bottom line today. In my personal life, I have championed living a simple, self-sufficient lifestyle for the last 40 years. During that time, I purchased and lived on 3 separate farms in southwest Michigan. My current 34-acre farm in Berry County was developed as a homestead in 1920, and I purchased it in 1993. At this farm, I practice energy-efficient construction, organic food production, recycling and reuse, renewable energy production, and promoting wildlife habitats. In my professional life, I have championed promoting the concept of sustainability through education and training. Past 7 years, I've worked as the construction manager and the renewable energy manager at Grand Rapids Community College. During that time, I started many sustainability programs, including the LEED certified habitat homes, Green Advantage certification for construction workers, a deconstruction program, a wind safety training program, and the sustainability field study in the Bahamas. However, these accomplishments in my personal and professional life do not explain where my inspiration, sense of responsibility, and commitment to contribute to a more sustainable world originated. To understand the origins of my interest in sustainability requires an examination of my childhood. I grew up in northern Michigan in a small town that strove to reach a population of 1,000 people. When I was conceived in 1949, my mother and father lived with my great-grandparents. The home was a single-room log cabin that my father and great-grandfather constructed from timber harvested on the property. There was no electricity. The logs were hand-cut and peeled. There was no running water. Water was hand-pumped from a well and heated on a stove. There was no toilet to flush. A hand-dug pit with an outhouse 30 feet from the main house provided that amenity. Near the house was a garden that provided fresh, seasonal vegetables. My great-grandmother, with me as her assistant, canned vegetables every summer. We stored them in a root cellar that was located under the kitchen floor. Our property abutted a river that provided fresh fish, while the surrounding woods provided wild game. When I was 4 years old, my parents moved into town. My grandparents had purchased the main restaurant, and my mother worked as a waitress. We lived in an apartment above the restaurant, and I assisted my mother, grandmother, and grandfather with food preparation and cleanup. One of my daily jobs was to fill the salt, pepper, sugar, and jelly containers from bulk containers in the back room. There were no throwaway individual plastic containers. Local farmers brought their produce to the restaurant in the back of a pickup truck. I would watch my grandmother inspect and select the produce while bartering with the farmers over price, much like I see we do today at a farmer's market. In addition to vegetables, farmers would bring in both domestic and wild animals, which quite often ended up on our menu. What we and the townspeople ate was truly local food mostly free of any chemical pesticides, herbicides, since farming was just beginning the transformation to agribusiness with its inorganic methods. All of the food waste from the restaurant was taken to my grandparents' vermiculture compost bin at their home. This provided them with a supply of worms for fishing, in addition to the compost for the large garden they maintained behind their house. My father was a welder pipe fitter who worked for the local natural gas company. He also ran the local welding repair shop evenings and weekends. When not busy at the restaurant, I worked in my father's shop and learned to be a welder mechanic. Farms and businesses would bring everything broken or in need of maintenance to my father's shop. He was the fix-it guy for machinery that today most people would throw away and replace with something new. The rule then was to use it up or wear it out and only buy something new when absolutely necessary. Like my grandmother, my father bartered for payment, which often consisted of food, goods, or services instead of money. My school was on the edge of town, and one building housed all K through 12 grade levels. The older kids looked after the younger kids. We were taught the responsibility of being a role model for others. I loved school, particularly science, engineering, and math. It seemed to me at that time that my classmates were also interested and very capable in the same subjects. By the time I was in junior high, my friends and I had assembled, built, and operated models of virtually every mechanical, electrical thing that we ever expected to use later in life. We knew how these things worked, how they consumed energy, how they outlived their usefulness, and how they were disposed of. I considered that firsthand cradle-to-cradle or cradle-to-grave experiences. My friends and I also made money. After school, we would go to the dam at the mill pond, located a few blocks from the school, and wade into the 2-foot deep water and catch crayfish. When our buckets were full, we took them to the local bait shop and sold them. We did the same thing with night crawlers. One of our parents would drive us to the cemetery, located about a mile outside of town, and drop us off around midnight. Armed with flashlights and buckets, we would scoop up the night crawlers that were lying on top of the freshly mowed grass. We also caught large bullfrogs from a nearby pond and sold them to my grandparents for frog leg dinners at the restaurant. In the winter, we collected sap from a maple forest, which was boiled into maple syrup. And in a gesture of community service, we would gather at the town dump on weekends with our .22 rifles and spend the day shooting the rats. It was a good life, an outdoor life, a life closely connected to the life-death cycle of nature, a life of balancing what we took with what we replaced, a life that was mostly environmentally responsible, a life of self-reliance. There was no concern, as there is today, for kids left inside. We were outside all the time. We learned about community, of sharing and looking after the well-being of each other, what we now call social responsibility. And it was a life of economy. Though we were all probably economically poor by today's standards, we never knew it. The value of hard work, earning your own money, paying as you go, and bartering with your neighbors created a truly responsible economy. The small town thrived and hummed with human activity. I've always been wary of people who only live in the past, who always look for the good old days, who always long for the good old days, who believe that if we just go back to the way it was, the problem will be solved. I am also wary of people who believe that the problem we create today will somehow be fixed in the future. A new technology will fix the abuses of the existing technology. A new government program or regulation will stop corporate abuses of the environment. A new twist on private enterprise will make saving the planet profitable. On and on. To me, sustainability is selecting the best sustainable social, economic, and environmental practices from the past and merging them with the best sustainable social, economic, and environmental practices of the present to create a mixture leading to a sustainable future. I often wonder who I would be today if I had not grown up where and how I did. I wonder how we expect the current and future generations to cherish, respect, understand, and interact with the natural world in a way that not only sustains what we have, but replenishes what we have taken when they have no similar childhood experiences to add to the mixture. Thank you.